Welcome to The Kid is in School, where we talk about whatever we want, since our kid is not here to interrupt us. But we don't have a lot of time before the bell rings, so let's get right into it. Luke, we're in the middle of decluttering, and you go to Indiana to perform, and then you come back with more clutter. What is going on?
Well, clutter, yes, I guess it's clutter. It's not junk. It's stuff from my youth. Like, my parents moved out, and now I had to go get all of this stuff and bring it back.
Wait. Why did you have to bring it back, though? I know why you had to go and look at it. You want to, relive the memories, but why couldn't you just put it in a dumpster in Indiana?
Because it's not trash. It's gold. It's very important things. Like, I've got all these old toys of mine, comic books, ball cards, all of this stuff. And I think for me, I don't know if there's value to them or not, like selling value. I have to look and see if there is selling value to some of these things.
So you could be sitting on a gold mine.
I could be sitting on a gold mine, but also there's some things I want to keep just because I like them. And that's, if I ever had an office someday, I would decorate my office with these things.
I know. You're one of those rare people that you see on Antiques Roadshow and it's like, well, who in the world still has an Urkel doll? And you're the guy. You have it in your room in your parents' house because they're in their 80s and they don't go into that room. And now that they're not even in that house anymore, we've unearthed it. I really like that you brought an Urkel doll home. They're fun. Yeah, he's fun.
It is fun. That's the thing. That's what's fun about these old things is like the nostalgia is there, but also they were designed to be fun in the first place. It wasn't. They didn't design toys to be not fun.
How fun is it? It used to say, okay, Urkel says, "Got any cheese?" But this one, you pull the string and it goes, "Got any cheese?" It's not like your Teddy Ruxpin. It is like, when I heard you pulling the string earlier, I was in a different room. I thought it was two cats outside fighting. It was like,
maybe if you just pull the string, but let it go back in a little slower, hold on to the string. You don't have to just let it go on its own.
If you let it go real slow, he turns into Stefan Urkel.
Outdated reference lost on younger audience.
No, the audience loved it.
Yeah, well, I do think that not to switch gears too much, but Family Matters, which is where Urkel is from, is now had a resurgence on streaming.
They did a reunion. They're back on air because of streaming, like you're saying.
Yeah, I think it was one of, if not the most popular retro shows streaming.
It was a great one. And Reginald VelJohnson has appeared in I want to say Spectrum commercial. He's in some kind of commercial. Did you see it yet?
I did. Really it's where he's the dad. It's like he's America's dad or whatever.
Right. A man asks his father for advice and then he ignores it. And then Reginald VelJohnson appears in the living room and says, "You should do this." And it's exactly what the dad just said. And he goes, "I just said that." But the kid agrees with Reginald VelJohnson. Yeah. Because that's who we listen to. We listen to the TV dads.
Well, that's the thing. Reginald VelJohnson, he's somebody who has two iconic roles. Mm-hmm. One being the dad on Family Matters.
And the other being the dad on Fresh Prince. That's an old joke. People used to confuse them because they were both heavy set. They did a whole cute little crossover episode where the Fresh Prince dad walks in to the house of Family Matters and says, "Stop calling me, Carl," or whatever. Did you remember that?
I've never seen this.
It's so cute. Anyway, watch it. So the other iconic role is
from Die Hard. Yeah, he's the cop in Die Hard.
Yep.
Which I don't even think they was the first choice for that. I think it was somebody else. I don't remember who off the top of my head, but it was somebody else, and somehow he got it. He went in and auditioned for the role, and I think Bruce Willis was like, "This guy's good. I think we should have this guy."
It's so funny that
I think it was Wesley Snipes.
Oh, really?
I think it was supposed to be Wesley Snipes, and it ended up being Reginald.
A young Mr. Snipes. That's because Snipes was so much better as who's the guy Alan Rickman plays?
Oh, you're
MacGruber. Because
it's not MacGruber.
It's not MacGruber?
No.
Hans Gruber.
Yes.
You're right. MacGruber is a Will Forte character. No, what I was going to say was Wesley Snipes is such a good villain. He would have been... You wouldn't want to see him as the buddy helping out.
I guess, but, I mean, Wesley Snipes is the good guy in a lot of movies.
Is he?
Yes.
Does he smile? I only know him from... the thing I know him from being a good guy in is Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, where he's a drag queen.
Bad guy in?
Blade?
No, Blade's a good guy.
Terrifying vampire in Blade. Okay, I admit I haven't seen
Blade.
it.
He's Blade.
He's the vampire you're scared of, just like the Terminator. Arnold Schwarzenegger is a scary Terminator. He terminates people.
Only in the first one. But Blade is not. He's a half vampire killer.
Okay. Oh, well, thank you. Spoiler alert. Just kidding. I should have known that. And in my mind, he lives on, I don't know, just vampire teeth. He looks cool. And then when he says, always bet on black, then he shoots. Doesn't he hurt somebody in Passenger 57?
He's the good guy on that.
He's the hero, I know, stopping the terrorists, but I'm just saying. What is this misogynoir I'm spewing on the radio?
Look, I don't know what's going on. It just, honestly, it feels like basically because he's a tough guy in all of his roles, you're like, that's the bad guy. I guess you want your good guys to be like Mr. Rogers and just have happy feelings.
Well, isn't it true Bruce Willis does not throw a punch in Die Hard? He is the scrawny anti-hero, right? Or is he supposed to be tough?
He's tough.
Crafty. He uses his wits, not his brawn. He's not Stallone. He's not Schwarzenegger.
That doesn't seem correct at all.
It is very correct. It sounds like the smartest thing I've ever said.
He didn't have any shoes on, so he has to like be a little more crafty because of that, and he's outnumbered.
Yeah.
But he still shoots them and beats them up and kills them and jumps off the roof of the
didn't know he
exploding building.
Jumping off a roof is not brawn. That is craftiness. And yeah, okay, if he punches people, then he's a tough guy. I remember his arms, he has got carved arms, but I thought the whole point was he's a regular Joe, and so are you, guy at home on the couch. You too could, in the same situation, save Christmas. I feel like we got off track, though, because before we talked about Wesley Snipes, we were talking about Reginald VelJohnson, and I wanted to tell you that he was also a police officer on Family Matters. So I used to have a tweet that said, there are 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and Reginald VelJohnson plays a cop.
Okay, yeah.
I bet he's probably a cop in a Burger King commercial, too, if you do a deep dive.
I wonder, there might have been some sort of typecasting where he had been this or that, and I don't actually know what came first, Family Matters or Die Hard.
Really? I could have sworn Die Hard came first. That's so funny.
Family Matters, I think Die Hard came first, but Family Matters was a spin-off of Perfect Strangers.
You're right, and that was 80s. Now Die Hard was 89, right?
The first one, I believe, is 88.
88. Ooh, this is so tight. We don't know. Yeah. Maybe it was one of those things, because a lot of actors get this. They get 2 cool things in a year. They get like the lead in a commercial and their first feature film. So maybe that's what happened to him.
It could be. And all of this could be solved by Google, but we're not going to.
That's not fun.
No Google. This is just speculation and conversation.
Remember when we thought pills had a plastic coating on them? Yeah. It's so much more fun to be wrong and have the audience yell at us through their device.
It is more fun. It gets the conversation going for them. Like, I can correct these 2 boobs.
I don't... What a maroon. What a boob. I don't mind being wrong. It's funny to me. I like being corrected because then I have the information I needed. Whereas I don't think you like to be corrected.
Well, I'm not wrong. So usually people's corrections are incorrect.
That's the problem right there. Because when I have a correction for you and I am correct, it doesn't fall very well. It takes a good while to convince you.
You'd have to really get a specific example of when you've corrected me and you were correct.
Embrace being wrong, viewers at home. Why do I always call everybody a viewer? Listeners at home, it's fine to be wrong. It's like a warm bath. And you get to say, oh, thanks for teaching me.
I don't know about any of that. It's but yeah, it's that kind of thing with seeing people in TV shows, movies. There was a different excitement, I think, around movies when we were growing up. I don't feel it quite as much anymore.
I know. Even dollar movies. We had a movie theater in Indianapolis that you could just pay $1 to see the film. And this meant that it had already come out. It's something people have seen before, but you get the theater experience with it. And that was even a movie that was played out was magical to me if shown in a theater.
Oh, yeah. That helped, like, because... the dollar theater, they weren't like old movies. It wasn't like they were playing Gone with the Wind for $1. It was something where it's like, this came out 6 months ago and it's about to come out on video.
Right.
And this is like the last stop before it goes to home video.
We somehow got a hold of the celluloid. We're playing it on our projector.
Yes. And the dollar theater I went to growing up, has been demolished.
Yeah.
It completely gone, and they put a Goodwill on top of the old space. So
they didn't just empty it out.
They
said Goodwill's too good for this building.
Yes.
We need a brand new building.
New building. They took some of the proceeds from all of their donated stuff.
My memory of the Dollar Theater was they sold big, enormous dill pickles in a jar.
Dill pickles
on a counter, not refrigerated, and you could buy one. And because the movie was so cheap, I splurged on a giant pickle for myself.
The pickle cost $2. The movie cost $1. It's well, that's the thing. There's stuff that I'm glad they don't do anymore. Movies is not one of them, but the pickle jar. It's
so off-putting.
I think that there's like some of these old westerns. Sometimes you'll watch, and there's like a jar of pickled eggs that people would stick their dirty hand in and eat for like a penny.
They couldn't use a fork.
They
didn't have them back then.
Come on now. Yeah.
Old saloon hand.
I know. Well, if you've seen any guy today with what they do.
I know. It is funny, though, to think about me remembering seeing a pickle in a jar, because it does sound like one of those general store items of like, yes, a pickled item for the child for a nickel, please.
I'll take one pickled cucumber and some saltwater taffy, please, to go along with my celluloid film. And
popped corn. Do you remember early in our relationship, we were doing a grocery list together, and I said, don't forget the popping corn. And you were like, what?
Yes.
You said, what is popping corn? And I was like, kernels that you pop. And you were like, you mean popcorn? And I said, no, I don't mean popcorn. Popcorn is when it's already popped. What I'm talking about is popping corn. like the old Christmas song, I brought some corn for popping.
See, popping is the process. It wouldn't be the pre-pop or the post-pop. It would be the actual the ability to pop. This corn can pop. Well, that's popping is where. So popping corn is when it's on the stove or in the microwave.
Actively popping.
It's actually, yes.
That's dancing corn. So you're right, and I've conceded to you. This is like with paper towel. I no longer singularize paper towels. I say, let's get some. Don't forget to add paper towels to the list, even though in my mind I'm like, it's a roll of paper towel.
No.
It's a paper towel roll, so it's a roll of paper towel. Oh, welcome to my quirks, and they've been beaten out of me mercilessly through Luke's constant shaking head.
No correction. Anyway. That's the thing. All of that fun stuff from youth of movie stuff, I feel like is almost like a dying art
or a dying form of entertainment.
Yeah, because
like the cabaret.
Yeah, what's even the last movie you've been excited to see?
The last movie I was excited to see I actually had to look this up because I wanted to know what year it came out. It was called The Good Liar, starring Helen Mirren and Ian McKellen.
Wow.
Does that what's a silver-haired set of actors doesn't surprise you at all?
That movie sounds like it should go straight to the Dollar Theater.
First of all, what grabbed me was that it was a thriller acted by, very talented people, and it had a twisty ending, and I was like, I love movies with twisty endings, no matter if they're action or whatever. I want a surprise. And the year was 2019, so I didn't see it in the theater, probably because the pandemic happened shortly thereafter, and I ended up watching it streaming, and it was a 7 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah.
How about you?
Well, recently I have been somewhat excited to see what's the name of the movie? It's the new M. Night Shyamalan movie. It's a Cabin in the Woods. Knock at the Cabin Door. Knock at the Cabin.
That is a Shyamalan movie?
Yes. It's got Batista in it. It's got, I think, that red-haired kid from the Harry Potter movies. I have not seen any of the Harry Potter movies.
Ronald Erwig? I don't know.
That does sound like an English name of an actor that would be in a Harry Potter. Ronald Erwig.
It also has the king from Hamilton, also known as the guy from Mindhunter, also known as somebody famous whose name escapes me.
Oh, he's in that.
He's the dad.
He's the dad.
He's the one that's like, I don't think we should sacrifice any of my children
yes.
to save
that's
the
King
world.
George. Okay.
Yeah, what a role reversal for him.
Yeah.
So I knew that was Batista when I heard his voiceover.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Isn't that funny? Now, I'm not even a wrestling fan like you are, but because I've absorbed so much from your consumption, I can now recognize people's voices.
See, I think that you're not recognizing Batista from wrestling, though. I feel like you're recognizing him from the 7 different movies he's played.
It's really, I was like, that sounds like Guardians of the Galaxy guy.
He's Drax in 7 movies. He's in a Bond movie. He's in a Knives Out, Glass Onion.
Don't you get tired of being right? Doesn't that just irritate you?
No, it never gets old. That's the great thing about being
It's
right.
like if someone kept saying, no, you should go ahead of everybody in line. Come on in, sir. Wouldn't you feel a little bit icky?
No, it's more like breathing. Do you ever get tired of breathing?
Oh, boy.
Or eating? No, it's part of life.
So Cabin in the Woods, you're excited about it?
Yes, but I think it's called a knock at the cabin door or knock at the cabin or something like that.
Oh, man. When it comes to articles, a knock, the knock. Yeah, and just cabin. It's going to be tricky to remember.
Yeah, it's something cabin.
It's just Batista Shyamalan and Night.
That kind of interests me, and I don't feel like we get a ton of these type of movies in the theater right now. I did hear some sort of discussion about that right now we're only getting giant blockbusters that they're expecting to make $1 billion, like Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Or we're getting completely independent films. We're not getting the ones that were in the middle.
Also, ugh.
Yes.
Excuse me, fellow actors, but blah.
Well, because
I'm tired of the summer blockbusters you used to be able to look forward to, but now they're so formulaic. I mean, you just kind of are going knowing, well, I'm going to release some dopamine and adrenaline here.
Yeah, I think the Top Gun, I haven't seen Top Gun Maverick yet, but it's something that seemed to break up the superhero movies a little bit.
Yes, and it's because it had A-listers plus nostalgia. So you've got Val Kilmer that people want to see. What's he going to do?
Oh, it's got
is that what it has?
Military
airplanes.
Yes, it's got those things that you were saying too, but it's also got. It's not in a different galaxy with superpowers and such. It's something that's okay. This is a somewhat realistic world that these people are living in.
Yeah, you're right, and I miss that. I miss seeing comedies in a movie theater. Turner and Hooch, I actually saw in the theater. Not to confuse everybody because I'm only 22, but I did see it then.
Did you have a giant pickle when you saw it?
I was the baby that they made leave because I was crying. I was a crying baby in that movie theater. No, I enjoyed my giant pickle. It was room temperature. Did I tell you that?
I don't think you mentioned room temperature.
I don't know what I was doing chomping on a giant gas station pickle in the middle of a theater, probably just ruining everybody's day.
Look, we did not grow up sophisticated.
What if it wasn't even a snack you're supposed to buy? It was some employee's lunch and he had it on the counter.
You just took somebody's pickle?
I want that.
Yeah.
How much will you give me for that? My lunch? Yeah.
Yeah. So, they don't have a ton of the comedies. I'd have to think because just in general, I'm surprised what comes out in movie theaters and doesn't. And so the M. Night Shyamalan movie is only in theaters, it says on the poster.
That annoys me. Does that annoy you?
No.
Okay, that was because I've been trained by COVID, by the pandemic, and I'm not out of it yet in my mind, of like, you have to give people the option to stay home if you want them to enjoy your film. Well, but I know studios don't want to do that.
It will get there. I mean, it's on its way. It's not never. It doesn't say only in theaters forever. It just only in theaters when it's released. Whereas
it just used to signal like this is exclusive, and now it signals like we don't play by your COVID rules because we need to make money. Do you remember?
Well,
okay,
yes.
Fine. You're trying to make a different point. Go on.
I am trying to make a different point, but it's also like your point is like you're like saying they only want to make money. Yeah. It's movie studios. They only want to make money. So they don't care.
How dare they?
That's why they only do have the blockbusters in general or the independent films is because it's like they can – independent films are so low budget that the risk is low. And you make a Marvel movie or a Superman movie, Batman movie, the risk is very low because so many people want to see it all around the world that you can make $2 billion.
Right. Well, I have a very intelligent point to make that you will appreciate because it's not left field. Gone with the Wind, it did well during the Great Depression, right? Because people wanted to see success over war. Is that correct?
I don't know.
Okay. So
sure, it's a
So sometimes since the dawn of film, studios have been making calculated moves based on taking the temperature of what society will see. And we've in hindsight studied that, when we were in economic decline, people were watching movies in the theater to escape the depression. Now, it seems like people only want to watch superhero movies or, what did you say earlier, independent films. art house films because they're cheap to make.
Yeah, I don't know if they're what people are watching. It's just the risk is low because they're so cheap to make that you don't have to have a ton of people watching it before you can make your money back.
Oh, gotcha.
So,
well, either way, the studios are trying to make moves based on economics. They're trying to say, how can we make the most money here?
yeah, they've always done that.
And and we, as a financially depressed nation right now, I think, are slow to get into the theater. So you have to really pull out all the stops with the Marvel universe.
Well, maybe for sure. Like Top Gun broke tons of records.
I was there
with people going to the movie theaters.
To my friends' disappointment because they wanted me to see Wakanda Forever,
Yeah.
which I'm going to see this Saturday. Will you join me?
What do
It's
you mean?
streaming. It's streaming on Disney Plus.
Oh, okay. Well, the way you stated it was as if you were going to a movie theater and to watch
I'm not
this.
going anywhere. No, I'm going to see it on my couch. But it's because it's a 2-hour commitment, so I'm going to
It's
watch it.
3 hours.
Oh my gosh, the news keeps getting worse. You know what? First of all, it doesn't have Chad Boseman in it. That's why I'm first of all annoyed. And yes, I know it can't have him in there, but that was the big pull for me to see the first one. Mm-hmm. Is Apollo Creed even in there?
Do you mean the actor or the actual character?
Michael B. Jordan. Is Michael B. Jordan in this one or not?
I don't know.
See, if I don't even know that he's in there, this is why I've been slow to see it. And I know it's really important, especially I'm Black. Happy Black History Month, everybody, to show up in support of Black-made films at the box office weekend. But instead, what did I do? I used my dollars towards Maverick. Tom Scientology Cruise.
Well, I don't know. I
like Tom Cruise movies. I'm one of those corny people that still loves everything he does because he shows up and does what he does.
Well, he's a guy that committed to making films for people to watch. Like he pulls out the stops. He's gonna, if it's a Mission Impossible movie, he's gonna do his own stunts. He's gonna make them bigger. He's gonna make it actually fun to go see.
Yeah, and he's charming. I know some people don't want to separate the art from the artist, and usually I don't. But in this case, I really think he's a consummate professional.
Okay. Well, luckily he doesn't have any like Bill Cosby allegations.
No, he's not problematic in that way. Although, if you ask the people close to him, like Leah Remini, when she was his buddy, she'll have some things to say, I'm sure. But that's the whole thing. I don't want to go down that road of like, making fun of the low-hanging fruit here. My point is, don't you love when I say basic things like, I think Tom Cruise is good at acting?
That's a movie star right there. If I could pick one, I'd say Tom Cruise. He's got that movie star quality. I don't know
what it is about him.
Yeah.
Maybe everything he's ever made was a hit.
Does nobody else see this? Yes, we all see this.
We all see it.
Literally everyone in the entire world sees this about him. Yeah, there's certain people who are going to come out with the big movies, but this M. Night Shyamalan movie feels like it's more in that middle ground that we don't get as much anymore. It's not a giant blockbuster special effects film. It's not an independent film.
Right.
It's kind of where all of his movies generally are.
Really? Because it strikes me as a horror. Is it not horror? It looks just like The Purge to me.
Well, what does that have to do with it?
Well, there's a difference in M. Night Shyamalan is thriller suspense, sometimes sci-fi, sometimes aliens are involved, sometimes supernatural is involved. And then there's horror, which is slasher film.
Okay.
Evil on Earth, making people bloody. To me, they're two different genres. And so I was less excited about this when I thought it was a horror film because like with Halloween that went to theaters, like you could see horror easily. But this strikes you as one of those in-between films.
In between budget-wise. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it even, I don't think there's, I might be wrong, but I can't think of a horror film that is a giant, big budget film special effects. I mean, maybe Alien or something like that.
I'd like to use this opportunity to remind studio network heads that I will work for very, very cheap. I would love to be in any movie at all, but it can't be one without a star. I have to be able to have interacted with the star on screen.
For the Instagram post.
But I'm not going to be the one that's like, my people are negotiating a really high rate and that brings down the yada yada. I'm not going to do that.
No.
Just give me the craft table.
Yeah.
I want to be in a movie. Do you want to be in a movie?
Me?
Yeah. Or would you be picky about the kind of movie you'd be in?
No, I'd be in a movie, but I feel like most of my movie opportunities would be something like we just watched You People.
Oh my gosh, we sure did, and I got to bite my tongue on that one.
And so, but there's a lot of big comedy stars in that, and big actors in general.
Yeah.
But then there's also scenes where there are people in the film with small roles that are just stand-up comedians that we know.
Oh, true. I thought you were talking about the enormous stars like Elliot Gould who have tiny, tiny roles. I'm like, was that Elliot Gould?
Yeah, I mean, gigantic stars is relative, but
How dare you?
no, he's not. There's not going to be any movies probably having Elliot Gould be he's not going to be Tom Cruise anymore.
Right. Okay, I see what you're saying.
He's got to be in his 70s or 80s.
I know, but you don't
now.
say that about Harrison Ford. It's Elliot Gould. You're making me mad.
I think you could say that about Harrison Ford, unless it's an Indiana Jones movie or something like that. But he's not the president anymore.
And I would say, how dare you?
Jumping off planes and.
Okay, so anyway, back to your excellent point. What were you saying? You were talking about.
Back to my excellent point that you can't remember at all.
Well, you people. Can we talk about you people or not? You and I are an interracial couple, and this was a movie about interracial couples, so I thought it was for us. But I don't even think it was by us. You know what I'm saying? I think it was biased. Ooh, look at me. I'm a little movie critic.
Well,
Oh, wait, I know what you were making. You were making a point about there were stand-ups in it.
yes.
And that's where you feel like you would fit in a show.
That's where I think the most likely opportunity I would have in any film would be this small role that it's because I'm a comedian, a stand-up comedian. They're like, yes, my friend made this, and they put me in that role. Yeah, he can handle this. He's the barista for like these 3 scenes, and like there's a part in Meet the Parents where I'm blanking on his name.
Do you mind if I jump in?
Sure, jump in.
Robert De Niro, Ben
No,
Stiller.
you're going wrong direction.
Owen Wilson.
You're going wrong direction there.
Carrot Top?
You're going to the biggest stars possible.
All
I'm
right.
talking about the roles I could play.
Okay, there was an actor that we should know. I don't know who was big back then. Jason Lee, was it Jason Lee?
No,
He feels too big.
Oh, this is where a lot of our discussions go. When I have a direction I'm going, and you are so off the mark. Completely.
That's why I asked permission to try. Okay, go ahead. I'll just be quiet and you figure it out.
Yeah, and well, I don't know why I'm blanking on this. It's a comic that we both know. Big beard.
Zach Galifianakis.
Is Zach Galifianakis in Meet the Parents?
Well, I don't remember who has
No,
a big beard
he's
that's
not.
Okay, fine.
So he is. Anyway, he was on 30 Rock.
Okay.
Glasses. Hit.
French Stewart. Okay, anyway, that's interesting that someone was on 30 Rock. Judah Friedlander.
Judah Friedlander. I
was picturing Third Rock from the Sun. I'm sorry.
Third Rock from the Sun. Nobody pictures Third Rock from the Sun.
That's why I said French Stewart. Okay, go ahead.
French Stewart. Yeah, this is an example of sometimes our interactions with this, where you're just like, it's like almost like in a movie where you see people playing charades or Pictionary, and you're so way off, and the other person's like, how are you not even come close to this?
I know, baby fish mouth. So, so Judah Friedlander was in Meet the Parents, and you feel like that's the kind of role that you would have.
Yeah, where it's very small, and they're like, do you have any, nice wine here? It's like, we got Mums. That's it.
Yeah, that's very funny. I love those little cameos. I would see you like as a Harlan Williams in Something About Mary, that quirky guy that's got one weird scene. Because you do that in your friends' sketches sometimes. Like, you've been in some sketches and you have a lot of characters in your bag of tricks. I also would prefer to see you as the next Bruce Willis in a Die Hard. Because you're an everyman, but you're also heroic to me. Anyway, just planting that seed.
You can't fight anybody. You got to try to outwit them.
You jump out of windows. Just kidding. He doesn't jump out of a window to rescue himself. He's very heroic. He jumps away from explosions.
Yeah, he actually jumps into a window.
You're hiding in vents. You're trying not to fart so that you don't give yourself away and get shot. No, I'm kidding. He was a great character. I love Bruce Willis. Not as much as I love Elliot Gould, apparently. Good grief.
Name one other Elliot Gould movie. One other one.
MASH.
MASH?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
He was the Alan Alda in MASH.
That movie came out 50 years ago.
It also holds the record for saddest theme song on the planet.
It is pretty bad.
It's like, suicide is painless. First of all, I always thought MASH was a sad theme song and it was instrumental. But when I looked up the lyrics and found out suicide is painless was one of the lyrics, I was like, this is the most tragic song I've ever heard.
That might even be the name of the song.
I think so. The other one that was sad to me, but it's really not supposed to be, is the one from Cheers. Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got.
All the pictures that they would put up with that, just 1800s bars and pubs, and some guy with a handlebar mustache and a bolo hat.
Yeah, and they're like, V for victory.
Yes.
You know what I realized is they're actually from different eras. So yes, there is some 1800s. There's some horse-drawn carriages, but there's also like 1930s pictures too.
Oh,
I recognize my grandma's shoes.
Modern times of 1930s.
It just is like bars through the years. Anyway, it always made me sad for whoever they're singing about. Like, I don't want to be sad at a bar.
You know how they have all these revivals of shows now, like Night Court's coming out?
Do.
If they do Cheers and they have to do the opening again, they have to show that bar that's been around since 1724, then get demolished and turned into a nightclub.
Yeah, they do.
Or it gets torn down and becomes
a Goodwill.
A Goodwill. There you go.
So we live in the big city, and we are both from a capital city, Indianapolis, Indiana, but suburban parts of that capital city.
Yeah, you less so than me.
Really? And my neighborhood I grew up in felt like a neighborhood. There's tree-lined streets. There's no tall office buildings. It's just quiet. Kids, you could ride your bicycle without using your hands. You know what I mean? It's a very slow area.
Yeah, but it is the city. Like, you were in the city proper, whereas I was more suburban. Like, I was outside the city limits.
Yeah, your neighborhood looked different than mine. You had subdivision. You had one of those, like, we're going to bulldoze this farmland and turn it into fake houses, whereas I had a home that was built in the 1920s.
Yes.
So, but either way, we had to leave that life because even though there were facets of entertainment out there, we went to our first comedy club out there and cut our teeth there. There was an improv team that we both auditioned for out there. So they had an art scene in Indianapolis, but it is not one that I think you can make your full living at. So we moved to New York City. And New York had always been on my bucket list ever since I pretty much wanted to go to college in New York City because I've seen it in film. I think you're the same way. You saw it in film and wanted to live here. So tell me, why will you never go back to suburban life again? We would have to drag you out of your, I was going to say out of hell, but that doesn't make sense. Out of your home, like with your fingers clutching the door frame. And why is that?
I don't think that's true. I think I would. I think that
how dare you not yes and me just now?
But why would I? There's reasons I wouldn't want to go back to suburban life. I like city life. I think that there is definitely, when you're talking about New York City, there's a different culture element that's there.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a much more thriving comedy scene in a place like New York than in Indiana, including Indianapolis. Yes, there was some comedy going on, but just the difference from when we started and now is almost every comedy club that was in Indiana, the entire state, has shut down. And there's been a couple more that have opened up, but since we have left.
Right. So places to perform and places for people to see comedy, there's more of that in New York.
Well, for sure. Yeah, for career-wise. But also, why I would be willing to have a somewhat suburban life, although it wouldn't be New Jersey. Like, I wouldn't want to be, here's just a little bit of a suburban life right next to all the filth and smog. And
it's everything about New York City you don't like,
right?
Minus anything you do
Tons
like.
of traffic, all of that, just a few miles away from it. That doesn't really appeal to me. But there are facets of clean air, less traffic. You can drive someplace and not be stuck in traffic for hours. There's those type of elements. Also, just even having our daughter be able to ride her bike down the street
with no hands. Well, and our daughter loves Indiana. Whenever she goes back to Indiana, she's always like, I wish we lived here. And I shudder and I dry heave. And then I'm like, no, let's eat a hot dog and eat some nuts for nuts and you'll change your mind.
Yeah. And I think that's probably what would drive me more to be willing to do that is our daughter. I think when you have a family, she becomes a little more important in her priority. a priority of what she feels comfortable in. So having her be able to have a less stressful existence than New York provides for children would be nice.
You think New York is stressful on kids? What, just because of the noise? I thought it was stressful on middle-aged people.
I think it's stressful on everyone. I don't know that there's...
Whether we realize it or not.
Yeah.
Now, I do have friends who let their 12-year-old ride the subway, and I feel like that's too early. I still am like Indiana-minded in that way of like, no, she should at least, be 18. She should be a voting age.
She needs to be a full-fledged adult out of the house before she can ride public transportation.
She has to take a self-defense class, yeah. And yeah. So yeah, I'm like one of those people that worries about safety, but it's like letting a chihuahua go out in the desert. It's going to get swooped up by a vulture or something, or an owl. And I feel like, sorry for the visual, especially people who have lost a chihuahua that way. But
to an owl in the desert?
Yeah. but that's what I feel like letting my kid, because she's only 5 right now, our kid, go out into a big city like New York. But I don't think I'd be comfortable with her in the middle of a Walmart in Indiana either. It's not like people are so good everywhere.
Well, I think that that's not my point, is to say, where can we just send our daughter out to be by herself at 5 years old? That was not going to happen either place. But there is an element of go in the backyard and play. You can be in the neighborhood and I can feel that you're going to be safe, versus we can't really do that here. We can't, at least I wouldn't feel comfortable.
Case in point, I took her, when she was a toddler, to a local playground, and she started picking up what she thought was black beans, and it was clearly rat poop. And I asked her repeatedly, did you put that in your mouth? It's okay. If you did, it wouldn't be okay. But she said, no. And I was like, good, because that's not beans. And then when we did the hand sanitizer and promptly left.
Yeah.
I don't know that happens in Indianapolis.
I don't think it's ever happened in Indiana once of somebody picking up rat poop.
Only in New York, baby. You have a great bit about only in New York applying to just the worst things in the world.
It is. And that's the thing. Like, now, there are other things that come along with being in an area that has more wildlife. So when I was actually born in Missouri, so I spent my first 5 years there. There was a rattlesnake in our yard in Southwest Missouri.
Rattler.
Yes, and it's terrifying, but you don't have that in New York City.
Did he rattle his tail at you?
He did. That's how I knew.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, it was terrifying. In fact, with all of this junk that I brought back, all this clutter, there's a bunch of pictures that I have from youth. Yeah. And there's a picture of that house and the porch right where the rattlesnake was. And as a child, I remember, gosh, I had to be younger than 5. So I had a little wading pool in the back. Yeah. And I heard this rattlesnake, and I don't remember if I saw it or just heard it, but jumped straight out of the pool in air like a cartoon where they're just in midair running their legs and not moving anywhere, and then in a puff of smoke landed on the deck.
Oh my goodness. I love kid memory. I have memories like that where it couldn't have possibly been true, but that's definitely what you pictured as a kid. Mm-hmm. Well, I always thought you were afraid of snakes because of a movie. And it turns out you were afraid of snakes legitimately because you were scared as a kid from them.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're all born with an innate sense of fear for snakes.
That's hilarious because no, I was not, and I would not be. I think you'd have to tell me what a snake does before I would actually take it seriously and think it was weird, because I grew up with snake toys. Like, we had those wooden snakes that you hold the tail of and they move on their own. I love snakes. I think they're really fascinating.
Oh, they're terrifying.
And they're harmless because they don't have arms.
They're ugly. They look evil. There's a reason that's the Bible story we have.
My earliest snake memory is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom when they have one for dinner. So they were not intimidating to me at all.
I mean, you do know that Indiana Jones is terrified of snakes, right?
He is, yeah.
The whole point, he lands in the room with the snakes.
I hate snakes.
And yeah, it's...
I've done Hans Gruber. I've done Indiana Jones.
Oh, that's what those were.
Welcome back to my single line impressions.
Are you sure you don't mean you did McGruber?
McGruber! Dana Carvey gives me permission to do a single line impression, however I see fit.
If you could just, not just do one word impression, just do one syllable impression.
Okay, give me a celebrity and I'll do a one syllable impression.
All right. Well, Wesley Snipes.
That sucked. I was going to say always been on black, and I was like, how do you say always with one syllable? So I was like, oh. All right.
That's no syllables. That was just a dry heave.
Here's Samuel L. Jackson in one syllable. Man! Come on, that's great.
Well.
So, hey, I want to celebrate something. I've lost 10 pounds in 1 month.
Well, that's really good.
By doing nothing but focusing on my mental health. Does that surprise you?
I'm pausing because yes, but it seems like there has to be more than just focusing on mental health.
No. It had a domino effect, you see? Because when you focus on your mental health, you have to be mindful about what you're eating and how good sleep you're getting and like how you're moving your body and stuff like that, right? So I started out by stopping eating 3 dinners.
Mentally you stopped eating dinners mentally.
Yeah. And then I get better sleep. And I started doing yoga, as you know, like there's a little YouTube for January. Yoga with Adrienne has a 30 days of yoga, and I don't do them on consecutive days. But anyway, so I think all those things combined, plus, a voodoo doll I have of myself.
You just stab it into the gut. You will not eat tonight. Ugh.
All of that has helped me, but I didn't once focus on, cutting calories. Yeah, I didn't do the cutting calories thing. I didn't do the stop eating sugar thing. Like whenever I make it about food, I get really obsessive and weird and do the opposite of what I want to do. So if I think I should quit sugar tomorrow, I will eat 3 donuts in the next hour. Like it's like, oh, it's happening tomorrow. I've got to, load up. That's how my mind works. You, on the other hand, you're good at going cold turkey when you want to make a change.
Well, that's the only way that works for me because I am not a self-control type of person. So I can't be like, well, let me just have a bite of this chocolate. Then it's like, well, I'll have one more. And then I'll have one more. And then it ends up being I am just eating chocolate bars and cookies and cakes and pies. Surprisingly enough, not pies. I don't like pies that much. If it's a chocolate pie, maybe. But I will eat those just nonstop. It's once the floodgates are open. So I would liken it to if you're an alcoholic, you can't really just have one drink without binging. Mm-hmm. Or if you can't have just a little bit of heroin without it becoming a problem.
So to rephrase this, you have an addictive personality.
At least to food.
Okay, I get that.
And old toys, apparently.
I don't know what I have that makes me, we're both talking about the way the brain works. And the way my mind is just like, I go into, what is it called? Scarcity mode, where it's like, oh, if you can't have this, you're about to be deprived of it. You need to now overload your body with it. So I like exercise to sneak up on me. I've said this on stage before. I need a job that I don't know that I'm exercising. Like it just makes me move my body. I need to work for UPS. Is what I think has to happen. There's not enough exercise and stand up alone. But yeah, so I think that just by not telling myself, okay, it's time to diet and lose weight and do exercises, because I tried that when I took HIIT classes. There's this really awesome performer. She's a musical comedy person, Rebecca, who teaches a great HIIT class for free, by the way. She's an amazing person. And I was trying to do it, but I just could not hang. Like I would do one HIIT class and then just not take one for a month. It was just wearing me down mentally and physically. So yeah, and then you know what else it is? I think it's a little bit of a vendetta against Noom. Because Noom was like, when you fill out a giant survey when you tried it before you even start Noom, and I haven't started it, so sorry I keep plugging them. I resent them because they just bombarded me with emails after I said, I don't want your service. And they're like, really? But do you want all of our emails? And so I remember reading in my many, many windowed survey that they were like, your weight goals could be achieved by April. And I was like, oh, well, if I could do it through you guys by April, I could probably do it on my own by April. So whatever. I'm just like, what does Noom do? It makes you focus on other stuff.
Okay. This whole discussion is making me hungry.
So. Let's go eat some pickles. Thanks for joining us today. If you had a great time, let us know on social. Follow Kid is in School on Twitter and The Kid is in School on Instagram. Subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. Be sure to throw us one of those 5-star ratings and share with your friends. Oh, and do it quickly before the kid gets home.